And just after 12. Now, a European MP is launching a new political party with one issue, holding a national referendum on the future of Europe. Very much back in the news at the moment. Nikki Sinclaire is an independent MEP for the West Midlands, wants people to use their votes in the European elections to force a referendum after the UK government refused to consider one. She's joining us on the line from Brussels now. Nikki, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Very good to talk to you. So people are absolutely clear. You are an MEP.
Yes.
Yet you want a referendum on Europe.
Yes, because I think that our relationship with the European Union is not what people thought they had signed up for in the early 70s, had a referendum on in 75, which was that of a trading bloc. It's evolved. Maastricht made us citizens of the European Union. We constantly hear things how EU law overrules their own laws. 75% of our laws emanate from here in Brussels. It costs us currently £53 million a day. And I'm saying, well, look, we've argued about this. I mean, this argument has been going on for far too long. Isn't it about time that we had, once and for all, made a decision, had a national debate? I'd like to see a Royal Commission called for 2 years to ascertain a cost-benefit analysis, what jobs, are as a result of Europe, how we could survive out the EU, etc., and then have a national debate. And whatever that is, if that's to stay in or to leave, our politicians have the courage and the conviction to follow the will of the people.
Are you not talking yourself out of a job?
I hope so, because I'm desperate to make myself and every other UK MEP redundant.
Well, if you feel that, why don't you just pack it in? Why don't you?
Well, because I'm able to campaign. I wouldn't. If I was just an ordinary person, you probably wouldn't have me on your programme today.
Right. Well, you are an ordinary person, but
I am an ordinary person. But you know what I mean. If I wasn't an elected person,
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm able to campaign. We were in the Sun quite, the newspaper over the weekend, who's got behind this. So you wouldn't be able to do that without elected office.
Europe is working well for many, and it's easy to find somebody. In fact, somebody is going to come on in just a moment who is in favour. Why do you think we would be better off out?
I think that we have been very small-minded when joining the European Union. If you look at Europe on the map of the world, it's a very small area. You've got areas such as India, China, Brazil, all around the world that are growing at a rapid pace. And we can't have a free trade agreement with, for example, Brazil, China or India, because we have to go through the EU. And the European Union is a protectionist organisation. You tell the farmers in Africa who can't trade, the EU would rather give them aid rather than let them trade and pay them a decent price for their produce. It's a protectionist area that doesn't do our trade in the world. We have a deficit of payments with the European Union, and we need to be a globalist player, which this country always was and built its wealth on being a global player.
Why do we need an extra party? We've already got UKIP.
Well, UKIP are a fully fledged political party that that has positions on this, that, and the other, and they've never really been strong on a referendum. I've done 2 petitions now, totaling almost 250,000 people, which has been cross-party. UKIP are a very kind of right-wing element. This is open to everybody. Yes, we have no prejudice. It's a one single issue. You don't, by voting for a referendum, think that people, should be in a certain way or whatever, and their discrimination. What we're simply saying is we're giving the people of the United Kingdom in June 2014 the chance to say we demand a referendum. It's about time that the people decide. Let the people decide.
Stay with us, Nikki. Let me just bring in Professor Ian Barnes, Pro-Europe, Professor of European Economic Integration at the University of Lincoln. Ian, good afternoon to you, Professor. Very good to talk to you.
Good afternoon.
What do you make of what you've just heard?
Well, I think the idea of debating Europe is a good thing. Obviously everybody needs to sort of re-examine where we are and what we're doing. I have to say...
Speak up as loud as you can, Professor, into the mouthpiece, will you, please? Thanks ever so much.
Yeah. I think we all feel that it's a good idea to have a debate about particular issues in Europe, but actually membership of the European Union, when we joined, we're the 3rd poorest country. We're now a long way up the league table in terms of income per head. We've done very well as part of the organisation. And I have to say that it's worthwhile looking at particular policies. I have some sympathy with the idea of a more open agricultural system, for example, but lots of other things have been very good for us, in particular with the recession. The one thing that didn't happen this time with the recession that happened in the 1930s is the market held together. Protectionism hasn't weighed in terms of the economy. It hasn't collapsed the global economy. The European economy has problems, but at least we are solving them.
And Nikki, if there was a referendum today, do you think it will happen, by the way?
I think we will have a referendum. It's inevitable. It's when. It's when, because the European Union has had its problems. I think the euro is built on bad foundations, and I think it's got to take drastic measures. I mean, we had the Commission President last week in Strasbourg, Barroso, calling for a federal Europe. And he's basically challenged the UK to make up your mind. And for once, I agree with Barroso. We need to make up our mind. If we're going to be in the European Union, you have to do it properly. What our politicians have been lying to us is they come here and then they're playing a halfway house. And it's damaging to our interests. And I'm sure probably Professor Barnes and I would agree that you need to make the European Union work for you, and Britain hasn't been doing that because they know they don't have the will of the people behind it. That's why I'm calling. Me and Professor Barnes could argue for all day about what the European Union is worth to the UK and what it's not. But that's why I would like to see a royal commission, an independent royal commission, come out with the basic figures, and then we can have a national debate and let the people decide.
Professor,
we're a democracy.
Well, actually, the idea of having investigations into the benefits of membership have been with us forever. The real problem here, of course,
it's never happened.
You never know. But one thing I can say is that, generally speaking, we have been better in than out. We're not part of the Eurozone, which is a great blessing, actually, I must say. I think the weaker pound has been a very good thing for the UK economy. And we actually have managed a fairly bespoke relationship with Europe, which has worked quite well for us, in my view.
Why doesn't the Professor want the people to decide? Why is he so frightened of the people?
They have decided, and we decided in 1975.
No one under the age of 55 has ever had a say. We were made citizens of the European Union under Maastricht in 1992. We were not given a referendum.
Yeah, but
no one under the age of 55 has ever had a say. I've got the 1975 documents, which is going to be released later this week. We're going to put them online. The actual 1975 documents,
exactly.
And you see the lies, the absolute pure propaganda, which hasn't proven to be true.
Well, I do think we are a lot better off as a result of being members of the European Union.
Well, look at the website, www.letthepeopledecide.eu. You'll see all the documents.
I've seen all these documents before. I mean,
the original documents from 1975.
Essentially, we need to have a very clear view about what we want from the European Union, and I think our politicians on the whole have negotiated quite a good deal on that basis. There are things which we're not in favour of, but on the other hand, like all organisations, there are things which we're for and things which we're against. We accept the general benefit from the membership.
And let me just ask you finally, Professor, if there was a referendum tomorrow, do you accept that the country would vote us out?
I very, very much doubt it, actually. I think that...
So what's he afraid of?
Well, no, because the thing is, it's a total distraction. That's my view.
But surely it would settle this issue once before. We've been arguing about this for 30 years.
Well, 1975 was supposed to settle it for all, and here you are back again. I know, it's a real problem. Yeah.
No, it's 30 years. This has been a constant argument, and I think we just need to settle it once. If there was a referendum and people voted to stay in, I would go away. I would listen to the will of the people. It seems that the pro-Europeans are frightened of the will of the people. Are we a democracy or are we not?
There's no question that people actually vote for the government they want in this country. We have lots of free choices.
We vote on the health service and education. We don't vote on the Europe issue in general election. We vote on health and education and the economy.
Well, we vote on vast numbers of issues ourselves. I mean, your figure of 75% of our laws. Goodness gracious me, where did that come from?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, look, we can argue about this, and it has been true in various senses, but that's why I want a royal commission. Yes, let's have a royal commission, and then let's put it to the people. Because are we a democracy or are we not? Why won't people let the people make a decision about the EU? What are you so frightened of?
Well, I have to say, the history of royal commissions is they go on forever, and then, of course, people still have to make a political choice as a result of all that, which is very, very
EU
difficult.
Don't like referendums. They force referendums on certain countries, and when people say no, they make them vote again. It's not just in the UK. People across Europe, in Ireland, in Denmark, even in France, said no on EU referendums, and the Eurocrats ignore them. The EU is undemocratic, it costs too much money, it's doomed to fail, and we need to make a decision: do we want to be part of it, or we want to leave it and make our own way in the world as we build our wealth up over the centuries?
Every 4 or 5 years we have elections in this country which the parties...
But they're about the health service.
Hang on, let the Professor speak.
Well, every 4 or 5 years we have elections in this country. People then make up their minds about who wants to represent them. if indeed, such a party did get elected, and we had a huge majority of people wanting to vote for that sort of party, then that party could decide. But I mean, the referendum is a very naked and very emotive choice. Very often, of course, debates end up discussing things nothing to do with the original question.
Well, why can the Scottish have a vote in independence and we can't have vote in independence from the EU?
Okay, well let's leave it there and throw it open to people who are listening for their views. Professor Ian Barnes, thank you very much indeed. Nikki Sinclaire, thank you.